Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Good, I was pretty interesting.
I'm excited about
Checking
that.
ducks.
Did you win?
Oh,
Shit.
what was the, where were you checking them?
At a basket.
Oh, was it Target?
Yeah, it was a basket in the middle.
Okay. So we'll call this meeting to order at 6:08. We're a little late today. Is there any public participation or announcements? I think we'll have school-related announcements in the administrative report. Yep. I will announce that there were definitely some parents, including myself, that were surprised that we didn't have school yesterday.
Show up.
Where's that? No, other people told me on Sunday that I was gonna have a kid home on Monday. So.
Well, we had an amazing DEI focused PD day all day, which was
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other public participation? Nope. Okay. Any changes or additions to the agenda? It looks pretty good. Sorry, Emily, you're looking at my broccoli. Okay, I'm also not hearing anything. Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of December 3rd.
so moved.
Moved by
Second.
Beth, seconded by Heather. Was there any further discussion except the fact that I swear that month was 2 years ago? It just felt like time travel.
It was 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
burned. Okay. Okay. I'll take. We don't have to do a roll call because we're all here. All those in favor of approving the minutes of December 3rd, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, and an abstention for Ryan. Okay. So Ryan's abstaining because he wasn't here last time. Okay. You're up.
All right,
Administrative report.
here we go. All right, I'm going to start, Emily, with you. And what I'll do is I'll get to this one. You tell me when you want me to move to the next slide. Do you wanna look at this? Oh, that's weird. Why is it not?
I was like,
Oh, that's strange. Sorry. Stop sharing. I did share. It's so weird. Let's try again.
It's like frozen.
Share the
Yeah.
first slide.
Let's try again. No. Let's see if this works. Race, what would you like me to do?
That's on my end, that is not on your end.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
we have faith in you, Race. it now.
What?
Okay.
Oh,
He's letting us know.
Okay,
we're back.
we're back with technical difficulties resolved.
Okay,
We can
we're
see. All right, Emily, go
And
for it.
hopefully, there's some stuff in the chat.
Oh, 1 second. I can't hear 6:14.
Should be fixed.
Oh.
All right, good. Go, Emily.
First off, Happy New Year, everybody. 'Cause
Thank you.
it's New Year.
Good job.
Hope everybody enjoyed the break. And December was a great month. We had the 4-8 winter concert, which was definitely cut down in time from 2 years ago's concert. That
needed like a dinner break.
that was very
It was
hot.
awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Like I feel like it normally is. Yeah, I put definitely not as long as the spring concert. There was a spaghetti dinner done by the 8th grade. I have heard very positive things that they really did enjoy doing that.
I heard that they raised like $3,000.
They were
Yeah, they raised
somewhere right
a
around
lot.
that. Yep.
They did an awesome job.
They did.
They were great.
They look spectacular.
Yeah. And then there was the variety show, and there was a lot of people who also showed up to watch that and really enjoyed seeing what kids have worked for, like I guess towards, and got to do it.
Oh, there was
There
also an
was
art
also
show.
the art
Oh,
show.
yes.
That's it.
Thank you, Miss Steeving.
Yeah, that
There
was
were
a
so
cool
many
combination.
things last month
I liked that.
that I was like asking my teachers like, what did we do last month?
Because there's
It seems so long
It's
ago.
like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This month I did, or I guess last month I did the 6th grade. They did a project. It was grapes, geography, religion, architecture, politics, and economics, and social structure. Our middle school social studies teacher does it with 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So we did the grapes project last year, and we did the mummy project last year, which is the next project they did. And I also heard positive things about that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the student's perspective.
And I will say, Emily, we went to the 8th grade supper with my own 2 kids who are 7 and 3, and they thought it was quite literally the best meal they've ever eaten. No joke, the
You
best
did
thing
have
they've
some happy kids
Yeah,
there.
It doesn't cook.
No. They thought it was the best meal they ever had. They keep calling it the restaurant at school. So they loved it.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was good. Some upcoming events starting tomorrow. We've got winter activities, which is exciting. Yep, it'll be a cold one, and we're running on as long as S6 does not cancel themselves. We're going, and they will give us their thoughts on it tomorrow. The 11th, we've got a PTO family dance. Is that 5, Alexa? 5 o'clock. Winter activities again on the 15th, and no school on the 20th. Those are some of the
You make
upcoming
sure you know
events.
there's no school on that day.
Yes, Nikki, no school on the 20th.
Okay.
All right, Christine.
Jargon here, I forgot.
All right.
Okay, you have to click it again. Oh, click it again. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Oh, but I don't
All
want
right,
to.
a short report from me tonight, because we're gonna focus on budget, most of the meeting. But, I wanted to bring back the figure on, we talked about last month, the printing of the budget book in color. It's $10,000. I think that's a big no.
Black and white will be just fine, yeah.
Okay, just
Or
wanted to
like,
make
is it
sure I followed
available
up.
online?
It
Yes,
is available.
it'll be available
So,
online, yes.
How many, like, that's the cost of printing how many budget books?
Whatever, Larry, I don't know, but Larry reached out to the town clerk to find out how many they usually print and use that number for.
I mean, we could easily put a QR code at the entrance to the meeting
I know,
to
like,
get to
is
that
there just
website,
ways that we
right?
can
And then
like
just do that
cut
black and
this
white.
in half? Because we can do half of it, like, yeah, QR code.
I think if you try to do half of it, people will like take, like, it's hard to
still a
know who
lot,
gets it.
$5,000 is
Yeah.
still a lot.
I know.
You think?
But like,
So we're not printing it at all?
It'll
just
just
print
be
it
your
black and white.
regular town report. It'll be
Oh.
without the budget book.
so there'll be no budget book, is what you're saying?
No, we'll have the budget numbers in the town report
Yes.
as normal.
In black and white.
But if you wanna see the graphical.
The dynamic and the, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
all the detail will be in the town report, like it always is, but if you wanna see the graphical display, it'll have to be online.
And is that okay? Can we do that? Is someone gonna, and we
Yeah,
can,
well, Larry will be on shortly, I was just texting him, he's gonna be virtual tonight, but we can
We've never
confirm
had
with
this
him.
before.
This is the first year.
oh,
This is brand new.
oh, okay, I feel like.
Yeah.
This is just a lot friendlier to understand. with
Got it,
pictures.
okay,
And
yeah,
we'll
that's,
show it to
funny,
you.
I like the other way better.
We'll show, yeah, okay. So anyway,
Oh, so you're the engineer.
no to the budget.
okay, no to
drives me
budget book.
nuts.
Oops,
I
you're
think
pushing
like-
on
Oh,
me.
yep, sorry.
Okay, these are just reminders, I know you know, because I saw Heather and Hannah working on their signatures, but just wanna, say publicly that town meeting, voting day is March 4th. Our budget information meeting is the 24th, which was a change from the last time we chatted. I think we had said the 25th.
Because it's now on a Monday.
It's on a Monday, and that is because we want Larry to be able to be there.
Because Larry
at the-
can't be there on Tuesday.
he
Okay,
can't be there on Tuesday.
Yeah, he coaches
He
basketball.
coaches the varsity boys at Windsor, so.
sounds like
yeah,
a
game, yeah.
problem.
Warning will be posted in all the appropriate places by the 27th, and then Heather and Hannah are up for seats.
We're still gonna have the SU board meeting that night as well.
We are, it's gonna start a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna be excused and so will Beth. And maybe maybe
I
I'll
was
just be
gonna just
virtual,
virtual
yeah.
and-
So,
virtual.
just to,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong month. Okay, February 24th.
Yeah, it should be in your calendar, should have an invite in your
I
calendar,
ate my broccoli.
but that was
Okay.
just to make sure, okay. The other thing, I think Nikki may have reached out to you, but just wanted to bring to your attention and the public's attention that our normal March meeting, which is the 4th, is Election Day. We did that last year, remember?
Yeah.
Then we had to have another meeting to reorg, so we're gonna just move that meeting to the 11th, the following Monday, or Tuesday, so that we can do a reorganization meeting. And that should be in your calendar as well. All right?
I don't think I reached out on that one yet, because it was so far in advance.
That's
that-
okay, I just want, calendars are tricky, so, quarterly financials tonight, you have in front of you printed. They should be in the portal as well. So, just had I looked at these with Larry earlier, yesterday, and in general, we are in very good shape. You can look down at the expenditures, we are, in the black in, most categories, wages, benefits, maintenance, tuition, and we're over in a couple of areas, but so far, so good.
I want postage, huh?
Yeah. The, tuition, difference of, $500,000 plus could be, move-ins, move-outs, different choices in high school, so that's, I'm not sure exactly why, but those would be the logical explanation for those. So, we have not received all our, all the revenue has not come in yet, so when you get to the final page, page 3, when you look at the projected revenue, it is short of the projected expenditures, but please do not panic because all the revenues have not come in yet. So, we are not concerned at this point. And I think that might be my last, okay, so, let me just see if Larry has joined. I don't know where he went. Let me close this and see if I can see him. Oh, I can see it now. So you can start.
Yep.
Okay.
so just as a reminder, these are the same slides from last month, but if you're looking for where to find it on the website, on the Hartland website, to the right-hand side, FY26 Budget book is where you'll find it. Oh, do you want me to open it? Oh, do you want it, okay.
I know, there's so much.
Let's get right in.
Are there any questions specifically on the budget book? I pulled it up here. Does anyone have any questions?
And before Larry gets here, just so you know, we've been working with the Budget Advisory Committee. We've met a couple of times. They've gone over this with Larry and Lindsay and myself pretty thoroughly, and have helped in making some decisions around the budget for us, so we appreciate their help. And I think
Alexa's here and I think
Alexis is
Tracy
here, and
is
Tracy
still
is
online.
online,
Yep.
and those are the members of the VAC from the
Thank you
public.
for doing that.
Do you want me to, you look confused?
All I heard
Right,
was
everything, mate.
members of the public.
They are members of the public. Alexis and Tracy are members of the
The
public
budget
on the
advisory
budget
committee.
advisory
That's
committee.
okay. All I-
And they are here tonight.
Hi.
Do you know everyone?
Most everyone,
Okay. Larry is here.
Sugar.
Go back.
Let him get his,
Keep going.
I know, we're all gonna be like hyped up
Make
for
sure
a bit,
I'm ready.
and then, do you need sugar?
Nothing.
Okay, do you need sugar?
Thank you.
all right, there is Larry. Larry, we have just started. Lindsay pulled up the budget book. I didn't know if there were any places in the budget book where you wanted to highlight, or if you just want us to go back to the slides. Wait,
We can't hear Larry.
We can't hear you, Larry. Larry.
I'll figure it out.
We're here.
Maybe hop off and come back on. I find that that's like,
That's like shutting the power off.
uh-huh.
It's a reboot button.
That's like what we do at work all the time.
It's the first,
That's 'cause it
that's the
works.
first thing you do. Yeah.
Right. We have one person
That's
that's,
true. Restart your.
every time he joins a meeting, he sounds like a squirrel.
And then does
And
it
then
fit?
he like has to rejoin,
Interesting.
but we have to go through that whole time.
Yeah,
We're just never gonna get through this meeting.
I know, lots of tech issues tonight.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we have a lot of food.
I know.
Thank goodness.
But then we have to get through the meeting, because once we hit the crash from the sugar,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
gonna be ugly.
Not crash.
None of us are gonna, yeah.
You're not
Just
crashing.
keep going.
I mean, I should have practiced too.
Yeah, what are you saying?
So probably something from a good shot.
Found Larry. Took a choice. Larry, are you here?
Yeah.
I haven't fully decided yet.
Scroll through, I'm gonna scroll
Good.
through. and
Is
show.
is every school making a budget book like this?
Larry is
Oh, okay.
the king of the budget book.
King
Yeah,
budget
he found this tool, app, program, whatever it is, and spent a lot of time building it.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty, I think it's comprehensive, it's transparent, it's easy to use and understand,
There it is.
so
He's
we're pretty happy with it.
And I see that he's muted.
And now that
This
he's,
is muted.
All right.
try again.
No, you can go back to the slides. I mean, unless anybody has any particular questions about the budget.
Okay, so the budget itself, there were no changes from the current year, this year to next year in terms of positions or supplies or anything. It was a carryover, just for a starting place. Nothing was added. So that budget is reflected in the budget book.
Okay, so that's what we have.
We're basically at the same budget as last year.
Yes, but of course the budget is
Increased.
increased because of the
Yeah, yeah.
healthcare costs and stuff,
Right.
negotiated
Yep.
contracts, et cetera, so.
Okay.
All right, we'll go back to the slides, and Larry, you're on.
So this is showing the tax worksheet. So we are yet to receive version 4 of the LTW ADM. We're currently on version 3. Version 1 was not kind to Hartland. It was about 610. Now it's, as you can see, the second yellow box is 640.99.
Before you
Um,
go on, Larry,
you know-
just for people
Yeah.
that are watching this later, can you explain what that is and why it's good or bad?
So, when most people think of enrollment, they think of per pupil. So they think of, at Hartland, for example, if there's, 270 students that are physically there, and then maybe 100 tuition students that go to high school that you pay for, and then 270 plus 100, I'm just using round numbers, that would be 370. But then Vermont takes that 370 and they say, well, a K6 student would be 1.0, but a high school student would be like 1.1 or 1.2 because the state assumes it costs a little more to educate a high school student than it does a K6 student, if K6 is the baseline. Then in addition, they add, free and reduced lunch. If a student is on free and reduced lunch, they get a little bit more than 1.0. Interestingly enough, pre-K is negative of a 1. So with all those different things, an ELL is an additional category and so on and so forth. That's how you get to 640.99. There are not 640 students at Hartland, either with the high schools or not. But that's what the state says Hartland has. So that's what they use to assess the tax rate. So I'm going to go through this. Go
You
ahead.
said this was version 4?
This is version
The version
3.
3.
This is version 3. I expect to get version 4 this week. And that could change it.
Should stop at 4.
Should stop at 4.
They've told
Any,
us
and
it'll stop
yeah,
at 4.
they tell us that it should be 4, should be the final one. And then if anything more than 640.99 benefits Hartland. So if version 4 is 642.64, for example, it would be beneficial to Hartland. If they come back and it's 630, that would be bad. As far as the tax rate's concerned. So now I'm going to walk through the tax worksheet. So the expenditures, that's what's in the budget book, $11.597 and $4 is the current fiscal year 26 budget in the budget book. Then you take away, there's no offsetting revenues. So offsetting revenues would be, for example, if Hartland was part of a K-12 district like Mount Scottney School District, where they do receive tuition from towns, you could use that as an offsetting revenue. Hartland can't do that. Their tuition money only goes one way. So 11.597, then you have an LTW ADM of 640. That's the state provided number. You take that number and divide it, that's 640 divided by 11.59 million. And that's how you come up with net education spending per LTW ADM, which is 18,092. Okay, so now you have, there's no exclusions for Hartland. The only district in our SU that has an exclusion is Weathersfield with their bond payment. So since there's no exclusions, you just carry that number forward, 18,092. Now here's where things get tricky for Hartland. There's an estimated excess spending threshold of 15,926. So what the state says is that this threshold went away and now it's back. They brought it back after last year. And the excess spending threshold says, no, if you pay more than $15,926 per LTW ADM, then we're going to charge you an extra $1 for every dollar over that. So Hartland is at 18,092. The difference between 15,926 and 18,092 is 2166. They take that 2166 and they add it to what they say is the threshold should be. And as you can see, that increases Hartland's excess spending to education spending plus excess spending to 20,258.66. Then they take the homestead yield, which is the December 1st tax letter that came out at 8,553. They take that 20,258, you divide it by the 8,553, and you have an equalized homestead tax rate of $2.36, $2.3686.
Larry, can I ask a question?
Then, yep.
When you say homestead yield, how is that number decided? Like, what is that number and how is it decided?
That is decided by the tax commissioner.
So everyone in Vermont or everyone?
Yes.
Everyone
Yes.
in Vermont is 8, whatever that number is that I can't
The
see.
whole state, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
To put it another way is all the boxes that you see that aren't in yellow have nothing really to do with Hartland. These are state things. So they set the yield. And then we take that yield and that's how we determine the tax rate. So basically, it's a way of saying there's a base education spending. So they said they yielded 8,553. We divide that by the 20,000 that we want to spend per LTW ADM, and that's how you get a tax rate of $2.3686. Then, based on last year's law, Act 84, some districts is about, I don't know, I'm guessing 15-ish districts. Hartland happens to be one of them. They get a slight discount to help over time benefit or to make less pressure on the LTW ADM system. Because as you know, as you may know, we switched from equalized pupil for about 20 years. Now, for the last 2 years, we've used LTW ADM. So we take that 4 cents, we deduct that from the $2.36, and that's how you get $2.32. So if you followed me along so far, now I'm down to the third to the bottom, the $2.32. Now we apply the CLA. So the CLA for Hartland went down a little bit than the prior one. This is the final CLA that, unless they change it, it's 89.04%. We take that 89%.
This isn't the direct CLA, so this is not comparable to last year's CLA.
It's the statewide adjustment.
It's the new statewide adjustment that.
The new statewide adjustment is, I think it's 74%, and they take that 74% and they divide it by Hartland's. So they take the state one and they divide it by Hartland's, and that number is 89.04.
So we're using last year's CLA. Heartland CLA.
No, I just wanted
Yes.
to say, like, to anybody that's listening, this is not a comparable number to last year's CLA. This is a different, the state decided to play a shell game, and this is the new number that reflects their new shell game,
Which is the second number this year.
which is the second number for this year.
And can I ask, sorry, you'll get there. Larry, the non-homestead tax rate, is that, why is that untethered from the homestead tax rate?
I think that's because of the CLA at Hartland, I believe. So for example, Hartland's an interesting, compared to most of our other districts, the non-homestead tax rate is actually higher for Mount Escutney Windsor, West Windsor, and Weathersfield. But at Hartland, it's actually lower.
For what reason? The CLA is not applied to the non-homesteads? Is that
No,
why?
the CLA, so the non-homestead, anybody that's not a resident in the state
Yeah,
pays,
non-homestead
s-
property tax.
yeah,
Yeah.
set level that the state levels.
So it's unrelated
everywhere.
to Heartland.
Yeah.
So because so that really has to.
I think they should apply a CLA to it, but I don't know if they.
They do, but you're close. They do, but it's this, as you said earlier, the state sets it, and then they apply the CLA. So the state sets it, and then they apply the CLA. Now, it just so happens that in Heartland's case, because their tax rate is 261, it is their homestead tax rate is higher than the non-homestead rate. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I think one of the challenges is if we go back to the argument of like 10 years ago, I think Hartland in the last 2 or 3 years has shifted from being a receiving town to a donor town. Like, I feel like we're sending money to other communities to fund their schools now, where we used to receive money from other schools. And I don't know if that's true or not, Larry, but it's certainly feeling that way.
Hartland is still a receiving town. What I think the difference is, and I think the future slides will show this before I finish this slide, and I think it'll be very clear in a second. You are a donor town in the sense that any dollar over the excess spending threshold is double taxed, and that money goes right into the education fund.
Right.
In that
But are
sense.
we used to receive more money from the state than we gave them. Is that still the case?
I don't know if you receive more. I could look into that and get back to you on that. You definitely receive money. Whether or not it's more than what you spend, I can look into that.
But it wouldn't feel like more, I'm asking Larry, if we were under the threshold.
Yes, then that's the next slide. So just so everybody's aware of how we came to the 261, this is the worksheet, and that's the 261. And I think the next slide, I really nailed down the difference on the excess spending threshold. So if we
This
could
year we were
go
what?
forward.
Gonna show you that.
Okay, so now I'm really highlighting the tax rate. So the homestead tax rate that you just saw, the 261, and the non-homestead rate. So using the excess spending threshold, you can see at the 25 homestead tax rate was 230. The 26 with no changes to your budget at this current time is 261. That's a difference of 30 cents or a 13.3% increase. With the excess spending threshold, you see a 13.3% tax increase. Without the excess spending threshold, it would be a 1% tax increase. So so your budget's up 5.91%. And if there was no excess spending threshold, your taxes would go up 1% for that 5.91. But due to the excess spending threshold and the double taxation of that 20 some odd $100 it was, your taxes are going up with no changes, would go up 13.3%.
Sorry, Larry, I think I need you to explain that to me again. So the excess spending threshold is defined how this year? Or
By
how?
the law.
But no, right, but what?
Here, I'll take a stab at it. So if we go back a slide, we're proposing to budget $18,092.
Yeah.
Per LTAD and whatever student.
I see. So it's
And then the state
2.1.
says we're only allowed to
Got it.
spend
Okay.
15.9.
Thank you.
So we're over
Okay,
by.
thank you. I missed
Yeah.
that labeling.
The state's not saying you're only allowed to spend. Their state's saying you can spend whatever you want, but we're going to double tax you any dollar over that.
Which that number seems
Really
kind
low.
of nuts, but
Can I ask a
Yeah,
question
what
about
percentage of
tuition students? So when we go
yes.
to
exactly.
pay for kids who are going to whatever high school, how much, like, what's the average charge for them? Because if that's over the 15,000,
It's well over
it's
the.
well over. So we're getting double taxed on kids who are like,
Well,
for high
no,
school kids.
no, that's not fair because
But
that's the weighted. Don't
that's the
forget
weighted.
that's a weighted
Okay.
value, whereas the tuition is per child. Right. So that 15, if you go back a slide, that
That 15 is the
18,000 that
divided
we're
by the
spending
640.
is actually based on 641
Yes.
students, which is higher than the actual number of bodies.
Agreed.
Whereas a tuition payment for one body is greater than
But it
15,000.
would, but it is greater than 15,000. All our high school.
But our high schoolers might be worth 1.2, so
Correct.
really it's still part
If
of
you
the
divided the
percent.
tuition
Yeah.
by however many.
I'm just curious, like,
I
what
still
that,
think that's
what
the
we-
average.
It's probably
what we
still
penalty,
more.
like,
Yeah.
we're being penalized
They-
to send kids to high school, which we have to
And
do
the
by
high
law
schools can
anyways.
set their rates, and that's what we
Yes.
pay.
Did they cap that yet?
No.
Were they going to?
We'll see.
And then they set
How
their
can they
rates
put a
yet?
threshold
Not sure.
on one and not on the other? Like, how can they not say,
Yeah.
oh,
That's
it's a good
because
question.
everybody on the education committee is from Chittenden County and none of them tuition. That is why.
So
I still think it's a little disingenuous. Like these are not comparable. Like this is
No.
a weighted value. This is a
No.
weighted cost per child, whereas tuition is
But they
a.
still have
With
no
a concrete
sympathy
number.
for communities than tuition.
Right, that may be true, but I think I don't know that it's just the tuition. Like 'cause
No, I'm not saying that it's just the tuition, but it's interesting to me, and I would be interested to see, like, how much it actually costs if we waited and all this, like, with all the.
Like Larry, are you able to look up what a high school student is on the LTWADM? Because we can answer this quickly.
It's, what do you mean? Do you mean it's the extra? I think it's like 1.1. So if a student goes to Hartford High School, they count it as a 1.1. I might be off by 0.5%, but by a rounding error. It's either 1.1 or 1.2. It's not 1.5. It's not 1.7. It's like 1.1. It costs a little bit more because there's some more busing probably involved. They have the theory is that right. They have science labs. They have athletics. There's more that goes on at a high school.
16. Oh, what number did you use as your
I used
tuition? What's the average high school tuition?
Oh,
18?
no, I used the 15,926 times 1.1.
For example, using the tuition table that's in the budget book, we are budgeting, and these are estimates, that in 25 you had 144. Those are actuals. We know those kids, and that we're estimating for 26 you'll have 141. So you have fewer kids going to high school, but because of what we budget for the high schools and which high schools they're going to, your Hartland spends out of the 11.6 million, roughly 3.25 million for tuition for 26.
So our
So-
okay, so our weighted number is 641. What's our actual student number? Tuition
high
plus
school
with high
for-
school?
No, high school plus like K-12.
K-12,
Yeah,
you want a
K-
K-12 number?
It's like
So,
4.
so it's what do you have right now for enrollment, Lindsay? And then you add that number to 141, and that's what you got.
I can, if you give me less than 2 minutes, I can get the exact number for you.
But it's around
We're around probably 255, 260 here, and then another 141.
so it's about
Like
400.
400.
So the truth
Yeah.
is like we're about 1.6 is about the Heartland weighted.
No, it doesn't work like that. It works on a per. I see what you're trying to do, but it doesn't work. It's on like a per student basis. So they say you have 200. Let's say, and I know you don't, but let's say you had 260 kids and they were all K6, and there was nothing else, and there was no free and reduced. They were all paid. The number would be 260, right? But if they break it out on a per student basis, so if there's an ELL student, they count as 4. And the higher the number is what you want, right? You want a high
Yeah, I know.
from a tax perspective.
I think my point is that we're saying that our high school students only count as 1.1, but I am sure that some of our high school students count as more than 1.1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of
Yes.
them,
English language learner who is a high
Yes.
school
Yes.
student.
which
Yes.
probably gets you close to about 18,000, which gets you close to about what we're paying in average for tuition.
No, nowhere near.
Well, what's like Hartford's 20?
Hartford's tuition is over.
Hanover's 25 or 26.
We're budgeting, we're estimating budgeting. We haven't seen all the numbers yet. As they come out, I firm them up. But we are estimating 23,100 for Hartford. At 73 students, that's 1.686 million. At Windsor, we're budgeting 21,879. That's $76,000. Woodstock, we're budgeting 21,287. Hanover's 24,590. So you're talking in the 20s. The only one that's below that is Thetford Academy is 25,085 actually. So I'm trying to find one that's below.
And if it's an independent school, it's the state average.
Right.
Yes, which is 18,900.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the
state average?
18,900.
So it's
But yet
just,
there's, that's crazy.
I know.
yeah, so it's frustrating that there's no accounting for the cost of schooling on this side of the state. And
Well, if the state average is also the cost of the student is $18,000 around there, but
Yeah,
yet
we're
they're
only
saying
allowed to spend
we're only allowed
15,000.
to spend 15. That's crazy making. But
Okay,
the
so
state
we
average is
probably
that,
can't
regardless
change
of
that
where
though,
we're sitting.
right?
yeah,
Right.
You can't.
So let's assume, so that's what it is.
so I did just.
Yeah, so if we move forward in the slides, I think, so I just wanted to make it clear to the Hartland School Board, and I think this slide kind of does that. With the excess spending threshold, this is what, with no changes to the budget, this is the tax increase with what we know today. Without excess spending threshold, it would be a 1%-ish tax increase.
So that our budget needs to be 10.2 million. I
Yeah, we
think.
need to
Yeah,
do that.
so then if we move forward to the next slide,
Larry, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Sorry. When you say a 1% tax increase, are you saying that like
1% of 2.3 would go to.
like
that's
What
a
do
good
you
question.
mean by
I'm saying the difference, that's a good question. I'm saying the difference between the FY25 homestead tax rate and the difference between the FY26 homestead tax rate would be, if the excess paying threshold didn't exist, would be 1% higher.
so like that's for everybody? Like everybody is only paying
Heartland.
1%?
Yes.
Is paying 1% more than they did last year?
If all things being equal in their house value, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Which would be like 2.3
Larry, do you want me to take over, or do you want to run through this?
Yeah, I think we were asked to come up with, I mean, my understanding is the administration was tasked to come up with ABC reductions, I guess BCD reductions, A being no changes. And I think Lindsay could take it from here because it speaks more to the education aspect. But those numbers that you see here for the tax increase and the dollar amounts are current as of today.
And Alexa and Tracy, just so that you know, this changed slightly since we met, not by much, but from then until now, it's changed slightly.
Okay.
So to get to a 10.2 tax increase, the following would, thanks Tracy, the following would need to be reduced: winter activities, some teacher supplies, the to be hired PE teacher would not be hired. Furniture and fixtures would remove 5,000, and repairs and maintenance, and that does not take away all of repairs and maintenance, just a piece of it at 12,000. For a total reduction at 171,655 if you wanted a 10.2% tax increase.
Question, Lindsay.
Yes.
Where in this, where is the line of no penalty? Or is none of this?
We have to cut
None of this.
1.4 million.
Okay.
And we're talking about less than
The most we get
$500.
is
Okay.
We are
One
not
point-
there. We will.
Nikki's correct. To be under the penalty currently, it'd be 1.4 million roughly.
And that's why, that's why I'm ready to explode, because it just seems like it's not, because as each one of these cuts
Yep.
impacts our ability to meet state standards.
Yep.
And if we cut 1.4 million, we don't meet any standards, so I don't know. I'm quite mad right now at the state.
Maybe just to clarify, winter activities would not necessarily go away, but it would not be funded by the school.
And then to keep going, to
The
be.
hope, though, sorry, would be that we would potentially ask the town, the rec department, to take that over.
No, we would probably go back to, families
Like the
paying
other-
or
Now,
working on grants or
there
whatever.
might be grants
Yeah.
available and assistance from other avenues that we would certainly explore, but, as we sit here right now, none of those are guaranteed.
What does, just so I know, what does S6 provide any support for right now for
It's
winter
a-
activities?
It's discounted, but it's discounted the same way as it is for all kids in the state.
Yeah, it's like a season, it's 109 or 100, and maybe it's raised a little this year, I can't remember, somewhere just over 100
Per kid, per
Per
season.
kid.
And transportation would need to be families. Like,
In the past,
there would no be.
At
Well,
least home, we
Yeah, I was
would
gonna say, in
get
the
them
past, it
there.
was the bus was there.
Yeah.
Yep, and
Okay.
would not get them home.
Okay.
So then,
Well,
oh,
I'm sorry. We used to run a bus back to school for those kids that needed to take the bus home. They had shortened mountain time. I believe that. I think that's what we did.
Really? I don't remember any recollection of that. Maybe because my kids just didn't do it.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
to get to a 7.9% tax increase, it is everything that is on the left. Building upon that, it would then be an elementary teacher position, and that is a retirement. And that number that you see there is salary and benefits, just to be very clear for everyone watching. It's not just a salary.
And, sorry, can we go back to the to be hired PE teacher? We currently have one PE teacher.
Yep, and we're using a sub to fill the other pieces of it for now.
And so if we didn't have, if next year there was only one PE teacher, how would we meet the state requirement that?
What it might
Defines
end
what?
up, we'd have to figure out what that looks like with scheduling. We would have to make sure that we still meet educational quality standards, but where I anticipate the struggle being, right now, our middle school students are able to have electives as well as 2 times a week PE. It's very likely that both of those things would not be able to happen with one PE teacher covering K through 8.
Well, we also would
Yeah.
lose a health, because we use our PE teacher, we don't have health this year, which is a quality standard, because we only have one PE teacher. So it's that,
Certified to.
right, because our PE teachers are generally certified, cross-certified in health, so we are not doing health.
Currently meeting that quality standard.
You would have to meet it in a different way, which means, because some of our schools don't have health certified PE teachers, and it's not perfect by any means, but the way the local wellness policy reads, health can be taught within the science class, or the nurse can go in and teach some. I mean, it would not be to the quality that
Okay.
you would have with that.
But it would, Hannah, to answer your question, that to be hired PE teacher would have an impact on students.
Absolutely, all of this will.
Yeah, every one of these will. Yep. And so then, do you want me to keep going?
What furniture and fixtures would we be, what was on the docket? In repairs and maintenance then, like, is there anything specific that we're not doing?
Larry, can you answer that one? I know you met with, Jim.
Yeah, I met with Jim and his feeling that the budget as outlined before these reductions was to keep Hartland afloat and keep the building in working order. Obviously, things come up from time to time that must get done that we can't, some we can anticipate and some you can't. But when I suggested these numbers as reductions, Jim felt that it was doable. Like this was a number that could continue to repair the school as things come up. And the furniture and fixtures, I don't know if there was anything in specific other than the fact that there was 5,000. I believe that completely takes it out. I think furniture and fixtures might be zeroed out with that 5,000.
I think you're right,
decrease.
Larry. And for this fiscal year, we used $5,000 to purchase new chairs for our middle school.
Can I ask a question about repairs and maintenance? I know we've talked about like the capital reserve, and is that something that like if something pops up, can we use the capital? I thought we could use the capital reserve for, it has to be voted on, but like, can
If the
we,
boiler is placed tomorrow, you cannot use it.
you cannot use it?
Unless you called an emergency meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it's,
Okay,
in Hartland, it's a vote in March, it's on the warrant, it's on the, warning. But if there was an emergency, I think you could probably schedule a meeting to allocate those funds.
can
to
you,
vote with the public.
just out of curiosity, can you allocate funds and then if you don't use them, just they go back? So like, for example, if we're like, well, we're gonna cut $12,000 of that, can we go to the voters and say, we're gonna can we take $12,000 out of our capital reserve in case of, and then if we use it, we use it, if we don't, it gets returned? Is that like, is that a thing?
I'm gonna have to ask legal.
Okay, I don't know if that's like, just so that, you
I
know,
think it would get returned.
like it could get returned.
Yeah,
if
it's
you
just,
don't use
we
it.
have to figure out.
Like, yeah.
We would
Language
have,
of it.
we'd have to,
Language for
we'd
it.
have to define exactly what those repairs and maintenance are.
Yeah, it's not just like waiting
Yeah.
for something to break.
Okay,
Right.
that was my other
Okay,
thing.
and so then can we talk about what it looks like if we don't fill the retirement, the elementary school teacher?
Yeah, that's the middle one.
Yeah,
Yep.
can we talk about what
Yep.
that looks like for staffing?
Oh, yeah.
So what that would look like for staffing is we would have to look at class sizes and figure out there are some in the older grades that would still fall under what educational quality standards define as class size. But that, it would push it closer to that number, wouldn't push it over it, but it would push it closer to it. But it would look like something like instead of 2 classes, it's 1.
For one of the grades.
Mm-hmm.
So 7th grade is already 1, right?
We could look at
And it wouldn't really be possible in the middle school just because they already only have 4
Yeah.
core teachers.
So it would be more, so yes, I mean, the middle school would remain the same.
Correct.
It's more the elementary.
Probably upper
It's,
elementary would be
it's
a larger
like, based
class.
on what the numbers are, if you look
So
at
fourth
grade
and fifth.
numbers, the younger grades, based on their total grade size number, wouldn't necessarily dictate based on educational quality standards, trying to combine.
You couldn't combine those lower.
Correct.
Okay, so it'd be
And I
those
don't,
classes
education, I
would
don't think it's
smaller.
best practice at the younger grades either.
So you'd be talking about having like a single 5th grade or a single 4th grade classroom.
Potentially.
And the hope would be to keep the staffing, whoever's here, and shift classroom assignments.
So I just ran the numbers, just so people know. The average tuition that we're projecting is $22,900. It's actually, it's $33 short of $23,000. So that's what our average high school tuition is. And the state says that assuming that the kid is not in poverty or an ELA, that the average like, if we were to take that 15,000 and convert it to the 1.1, that would be 17.5. So that is what is destroying us.
Say it again.
So, the 1592
Yep.
times 1.1 is 17.5.
Okay, got it.
And our average tuition is just under 23,000.
Yeah.
So we are getting burned by,
High school tuition.
yeah, just destroyed.
Double, times two. Like, it's not just the one cost,
So
it's double.
this is why the state needs to cap high schools, because.
Or get some control over the
'Cause
high
high
school.
school- high
tuition.
Or not double
charging.
penalize it, cause I mean, yeah,
Or don't penalize the tuition portion of our budget.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Unless
but
their
the
goal is
likelihood
to
we
make
get
it
that
that way
changed before
every-
March 4th is very low.
I know.
I mean, again,
Well, then
important
we're
for,
talking about
for
it, though.
messaging in terms of, you know, which of these we propose. Ugh. So,
Okay.
so a 7.9, so a 10.2% increase is a tax rate of 2.5. Is that right?
Larry, do you have those figures?
A 2 point, what do you mean, what do you mean 2.5?
Cents. Like the tax rate is 250.
Oh, yeah, so if I did the 171 adjustment, with my little tax rate calculator here on a different screen, it would be, your tax rate would go to, for a homestead, obviously, we're talking about $2.54.
And then 248 for the 7.9.
And then 248 would be, so that would be this one, the middle option. That would be 248. That's correct. And then the last option would be 241, and that'd be a 4% tax increase year over year.
Okay, can we hear about this, the world language, like what that looks like for the school? Cutting the world language.
So right now, we have one world language teacher, and that would remove all
So there would
world
be
language from
no
the school
language
completely.
education in the school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And removing a custodian would leave us with,
One during the day.
and one at night.
Two at night, one during the day.
Can I ask a question? Or not a question, maybe a comment question. I've been at 80 million budget meetings, and last night at the Woodstock one, the board's goal was anything that was not student facing was what got cut. So, meaning like, teachers came last, it seemed like, and, you know, and so I was wondering, like, what, you know, like, is there anything that is not student facing?
That was that first column.
I know, exactly. Well, no,
Maybe
there's
that's
there's a PE teacher right there.
Yeah.
That's student facing.
Right,
Like,
but the things that we can cut are
Ye-
winter activities, teacher
yeah,
supplies,
and no,
furniture, and repairs.
so I get that, but like, and again, it sucks to say things like this, but like, the custodian, for example, again, I'm not interested in cutting anything, but if we were to like go with student-facing things, if the custodian moved over there into that tax, you know, into the furthest column, and the PE teacher moved, if they swap places, again, I don't wanna talk about any of this, but we have to, like, what is that?
We can do the numbers. I think one of the things we focused on, or one of the considerations in these cuts, especially in the first two rows, nobody's gonna lose their job,
Okay,
Yep.
because those positions are
I-
not filled.
and again, I'm not interested in
Yeah.
anything, you know, hurting
I
anybody.
just wanted
It's
to
not-
give you the rationale.
No, I know,
So-
no, I totally get that. Yeah,
So it would affect electives as well, because the electives are, the PE teacher will play a role in the electives, and that would have to come out. The world language teacher does play a role in electives,
Yep.
that would come out.
that would come out as
That they
in,
would we would not have that person to support the elective program.
Agree, yes,
So
so,
it's,
so that's
besides
what
losing Spanish, we would also be losing another person
Mm-hmm.
supporting an elective program for middle school. If the world language disappears.
I am really concerned about cutting world language in this part of the world, to be honest, right? I mean, we are sending a very homogeneous population of kids into a school, and I think that is, you know, you guys spent yesterday on DEI in service, right? I mean, I think giving them that bit of exposure to things outside the world they know is really essential, and I think it would be a really, really big disservice.
Shutting down.
oh no, why are we shutting down?
Cancel.
I think you might just have to hit the board.
You know, I think that there's no way we can get through this budget cycle without making cuts. I think everybody gets that, right? And I think proposing a 13% increase is going to really create a lot of backlash. So I think we need to sort of be thinking somewhere between that 8 to 10%. The budget that it leads to an 8 to 10% tax increase.
So,
I don't think people are gonna,
I don't think.
I don't think people are gonna,
well, can we just, so when we say a certain percentage, like in my mind, when people are listening to this, they're not necessarily understanding, if you have a house that's worth $200,000, what are your taxes then gonna be in these three scenarios? Because in my mind, if my taxes are a $25 difference between a 10% increase and a 4.6% increase, I'll pay the $25, you know, like,
Right.
so I think trying to have it a little clearer so folks can understand what it really means of what they're gonna pay around.
And it's cents
Would
per
be super helpful.
thousand, right? So it's like
Per
2
hundred.
point.
Yeah, and we'll do that, I think we can't,
But I'm saying we need to do it now. I'm like, when in these discussions, because if people are gonna listen to this, that's harder math than I'm gonna do right now. I mean, I'll go home and crunch it and figure out what my tax bill will be like, but I don't think that necessarily that everyone will do that and understand really what the span of their tax rate might look like.
is that in the
But-
hopes that between this meeting, if
Like
the
Larry's
budget's not
already-
There you
adopted tonight, you're gonna get feedback from the community to help you make the decision? Is that what your hope is, Beth?
No, my hope is
No.
that they can understand of like what the difference, if we have a 10% increase versus a 4.3.
Or a
Truly
13.
what the amount of money
Okay.
it means
Yeah,
out of their
there.
pocket versus we're cutting 2 whole teacher positions. Like
Got it.
that's a significant student impact versus, oh, I need to pay extra $100. Can we do that?
Okay.
You know, like, is it like, what's the impact versus your own pocketbook?
and I'm
vision.
interested, I'm with you on that, and I'm also interested, like, if we just stick with a 13.3, like what that even, like what the difference between a 13.3 of like not doing anything, not cutting anything, just leaving things the way they are, versus.
So this is what
all the
Larry
other-
has right up.
Okay,
Yeah.
Larry, I'm ready.
So that's.
So if with the current budget as it is, with no changes, the 13.3 that we're talking about, that 261.03 for a $250,000 house, the annual difference is $766 annually.
So your
So,
taxes are gonna go up $766 from what they are now.
So I guess
Per
my
year,
thing
per year,
is
yes.
being able to compare those 3 scenarios, like basically run the try to get those numbers for each one of those scenarios, because if that 10% only reduces it by
$60.
$25, is it worth it? Like, you know, is it worth the pain? Because right now it just becomes like.
I could do that. Give me 1 second.
You
I can do that, but I can't, it's not gonna be able to be in one table. So what scenario would you like to see? The middle scenario or the first scenario?
Yeah, so do the
Every single one.
do
Whatever you
248
can
with the
The
Tax
171?
the $300,000 reduction that gets us to.
Okay, so the middle one. All right, so the middle one would be a tax rate of 248.53. So if I go to 248.53, 2.4853, and then I'm gonna copy that. down here, so all the ones have it. It would be for a $250,000 house, 454. So roughly, what was it? $300-ish per annual.
Can you
So-
do it with 10?
Can you do it with the 10.2, Larry, just to see?
Okay, 1 second.
Because that was
10.2.
Or, yeah.
So if we go to a 10.2
230.
with the 171 count, that was 254.00. So now I go back to my table and I go 254.00. And I go, this will be in the budget book, by the way. We were hoping to get, once a number was picked, we could have this table for everybody. The difference would be 590 to 7, right? So it's roughly $150 per year difference.
Either 150 or 300.
I'm picking a $250,000 house as the baseline. I'm, just picking a number.
Yeah. No, I don't think that exists anymore.
No, but, okay, yeah, so with that option, if the tax rate goes up 10.2%, it's about $236 per $100,000 of house per person increase, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I don't remember the original number, but it was 7 something, right? It was, so the original number was 261.03. So remember this number, 590,
Write it down.
2.6103.
Write it exactly.
And 766. So 766 minus what the number I just said.
590.
590. So what did I say? $150. That's about right, right? 160?
176.
$170. Yeah. Divided by 12 or what, if you escrow,
Do we have to decide tonight?
You
I don't think we can.
don't have to decide tonight, but you do have to decide by the next meeting we set. At the next meeting, we need to make a decision, which I think we said was, the
Next
15th.
Wednesday?
Can I ask, I have a few more clarifying questions. I know no one can predict the future, but are there any chances that the state is changing things
They are.
again?
Yes. they
Oh,
are
yeah,
this
they're
week.
changing
Okay.
things.
So
And we're
like,
all gonna email Elizabeth right now.
so if that is true, like what we decide on tonight, there is a large possibility that when the numbers change, we could be like, wait a minute, we wanna, can we go back and revisit it?
If you don't approve the budget tonight, yes, we can revisit it next week.
But if we approve a budget tonight, we cannot.
We can cancel it like we did last year.
Yeah, you can rescind it.
We can rescind it, but then, because we're early in the game,
We're not early
in the game.
No, we're
at
late in the
all.
game. So when is our budget actually due to?
It
has
goes
to
to
be
the print, I
warned.
think January,
What is-
yeah, it has to be warned by the 27th and go to print by around the 20th.
So if we decide on something tonight, and then in a few days, the numbers change, and we have another meeting, can we say,
I think you just wait, if you're not gonna.
I can't make a decision.
I'm just
I'm
asking.
sorry, I can't either.
I'm not voting on a budget tonight. And,
But then we'll have the final number, we
So-
should have the final number this week.
but
Could make
that
it
could
worse.
change too, cause
No, what we're being told is this will be the last round of LTW ADM. We had to certify a bunch of data over the break so that they could get
okay,
the final, the state is recognizing that it creates a problem and a hardship when they keep changing the numbers. I mean,
really?
it'd be great to have these in December, right? So they have said this would be the last round, correct, Larry?
My understanding is version 4 is supposed to come out this week. That's what I'm hearing. And then they want the business managers to sign off on it. And then once I sign off on it, it's the final number. Unless they change the law.
Which could happen, but I think that we've all learned after last year's experience.
Yes.
Hopefully.
So what's the benefit of having the threshold level? Like, where does that extra money go if you're basing like,
Oh, I know this question. I asked this one.
like, does it just go to like a kitty that?
It goes to the education, I think it goes to the
Back into
education fund.
education fund,
And it gets
and
dispersed
then it gets redistributed.
to receiving towns.
So it's kind of messed up.
But they're doing
So
it,
if
they're doing it
everybody
as
had-
an attempt to control budgets, right?
They are,
Theoretically.
Yeah.
But what if
really-
everybody was under the threshold, then, and there wasn't any extra said money, then what's the, like,
It
where?
would, it would probably adjust the yield or
Yeah.
something in that formula so that everybody, gets what they need.
This is wild.
Yeah.
Welcome,
very
welcome to
complicated.
Here,
This
but
is
Ryan, have another
insane.
brownie.
I'm good.
Yeah, I might need
I
a
might-
brownie.
I might-
need a brownie.
I might throw
It
up.
seems like the excess spending threshold is doing the job that the
Did you get a brownie?
legislature
Wants
wants
it
to
to
do, which is
Make money for the
Produce
elves.
extra
controlling
money.
budgets.
It's like
What
a
is
it's
it? This
revenue.
is like Major League Baseball. What are we, the New York Yankees? Like, I don't.
Yes, we are.
There are districts in the state that spend well under $15,000 per student, which is fine, right?
But they're the ones that are crushing us, right? Because
I don't know,
Like,
I don't.
it's districts that can't
South
fund.
Burlington and
It's bad.
Because they have more,
We have more students, they have
we
more
have a more
students.
diverse student body.
Yes, their number is huge. Their ADM number is huge compared to ours.
right.
But you know what, complaining about that doesn't
No,
help.
we're
It's
doing
changing.
No, but here's where I do think that we need to email the legislatures, because we're paying, on average, just under 23,000 for a high school student.
Mhm.
And the state says that we're supposed to be able to pull this off at around 18.
No, 15.
Well, no, that, but
With
if
the
we look
weighted,
at,
if we-
yeah,
Oh,
if we
okay.
do all the
Yep.
weightings.
The difference for how many high school students we have is $750,000,
Yes,
which
Yeah.
is pretty close to 1.2. I mean, we
Getting
cut
there,
maybe
yeah.
the winter activity and
yeah, and so it feels like we're being penalized for something that which we've always said, that tuition is not something that we can control. But this year in particular, this just feels like a slap in the face.
So if we're not gonna make a decision tonight, which I don't think we should, then we just have to have another meeting in 2 weeks or
We
whatever.
have a meeting scheduled, I think it's next week on the,
I think it's
on the
Wednesday.
calendar. We have a meeting scheduled for the 15th as a tentative, so we'll just warn that. Yeah.
And Christine, who's gonna go to that one? Because there's a Weathersfield one at the same time.
Well, there's a 6 o'clock here and a 6:30 Weathersfield, so hopefully
Okay.
you make the decision. I'll probably be we'll be remote in one location.
That's fine.
Okay.
We're saying January 15th
January 15th at 6 o'clock.
at 6
yeah.
o'clock, okay.
So Christine, have you heard anything at the legislative level about tuition changes?
There's supposed to be a cap.
I mean, it's come up, but they
No
They
one's
haven't
capped
done
it.
anything.
no, I mean, I know the Commission on the Future of Public Education gave their report. They didn't want them to be called recommendations, I don't think, it was a report that I read. But high school, yeah, I mean, it's being talked about. There are lots of things being talked about.
Yeah, I mean, because it just seems like if we cannot cut enough at the elementary level to make up,
To get under the threshold?
to get under the threshold. Like, I mean, what you've proposed is really rough.
Can I just ask, is there an impression that the high schools are charging the tuition students more than they are spending per student? Because I mean, I
don't, and there
I
is
hate
a.
to make those high schools the
Yeah.
enemy, is the
No,
other
I
thing,
don't
right?
think-
Like, I think,
I mean, it's yes, I think that they are, like, tuition students are, they're a little extra money.
They're a gift.
I mean, but
you
they
know.
have to pay back. If they overcharge, there's a law, right, Larry? If they overcharge more than 3%.
Yeah, but if they undercharge, we just received bills from Windsor Central because they undercharged for each of our districts.
yeah, so I mean, I
So
think
goes both
maybe that's.
goes both ways.
Well, I think that's the other frustration, is that average number that we're being held to doesn't account for the fact that it generally costs more on this side of the state.
That's the issue,
than the other side of the
threshold has
state.
been set,
And
yeah.
and so that threshold we're trying to reach can't.
That's why I brought it up, Nikki, because I feel like the tuition, but, you know, from somebody who said to me, well, Hartland does have school choice.
Right.
We could
eliminate school choice.
We could eliminate school choice and we would eliminate this problem.
But wouldn't we still have to pay, like, let's say we sent everybody
No.
to Windsor, we would pay 21,000?
You wouldn't pay anything. Well, you would pay through your taxes, but you wouldn't pay any extra costs. For example, if a student is a 8th grader at Windsor School, and they cross the threshold and they go to the high school, there's no tuition money changing hands, right? It's no different than a 7th grade student, or actually, in your situation, it'd be no different than a 5th grade student going to middle school at Hartland, because you guys control the whole ball of wax K through 8. You don't control it K through 12, like Mount Escutney does. So there would be, your
But if we
tuition would
said
be
we want-
zeroed out.
If we said we wanted everyone to go to Hartford,
Yeah,
would it be the same
you'd have to
situation?
merge, you'd have to merge with Hartford, right? And in this scenario, you couldn't just send all your kids to Hartford. You could, but if you send all your kids to Hartford, you're still paying tuition. You'd have to merge with Hartford or Windsor
Right.
or something,
But even if
or
we
Mount
said
Escutney, I should say.
Windsor, you just said that the cost of educating a student in Windsor is around 22,000. That is higher than 18. Like
It's what Windsor charges for tuition. It's not Windsor, Mount Escutney School District's equalized education spending for LWAM is significantly, it's under the threshold. It's 15,000.
For the district.
Oh.
Yes. If we chose a different place, if we sent someone out of district, all of us out of district, we would have to pay tuition, but because we are part of Windsor Southeast and Windsor is the high school of Windsor
Right.
Southeast, we would just
But
pay.
what I'm saying is that the tuition is supposed to be set within a certain range. And so it is still gonna cost 22,000 to educate a student at Windsor High School.
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't.
It would be a
It would
lesser
be
cost.
a lot less.
It would be.
Yeah, and not only that, Nikki, it would be zero,
Wait.
right? As far as a number,
That doesn't make
that
sense to me, though,
expenditure.
because the tuition is what it costs, like, you just said, the tuition has to be within a certain percentage of what it costs to educate that student.
But it's really
You
not.
wouldn't
But
have
it's not like our
costs,
tuition
though.
line would disappear.
No, but
Yeah.
we would
I-
have high school. like,
The
we
tuition
would-
line would disappear,
It would
yes.
disappear.
Yeah,
It would be high school.
if we joined with
It would be
Windsor.
one budget.
It would be one, exactly, it would be,
But my point
Yeah,
is that
well,
it still
yeah.
costs
Yeah.
22,000 to educate a high schooler.
But you would have cost savings if you had one budget, because you're sharing resources across all schools.
Right.
It would, so it.
But
I
my
hear what
point
you're
is
saying.
that, my point is that the state is saying
Nikki,
it costs 18
may-
to educate a high schooler, and in Windsor, it's costing 21 or 22.
For a tuition student.
But why would a tuition student cost, like, I guess, if they're billing us 21 or 22, it has to be around that. They
Yeah.
have to be within a percentage.
Windsor
to actually
students
get the
aren't
work
gonna
done.
cost
I think your
15,000.
LTW ADM would be significantly.
exactly. So that you gotta remember the other side of the visor is the LTW ADM. So for example, you are 640, right? And then in Mount Escutney School District is like 990. So if they merge, I'm not saying this should happen. I'm just saying mathematically, if they merged, it would be 1550. Can you imagine what that would do to your tax rate? Because now the LTW ADM is so much higher, it would lower your taxes, just like it did for West Windsor.
As this gets brought up as as people bring this up to us, can Windsor High School absorb Hartland Elementary School students?
I think under Act 46, there was a plan to merge, a potential plan to merge Weathersfield, Hartland, West Windsor, and Windsor all into one district, one supervisory union. And there was a plan, and there would be cost savings, and there was a plan to build addition onto the high school or a new high school. I don't remember exactly. I came in.
Windsor High School as constructed has an additional, how do I say it? It has the ability to build an additional wing above the math science wing, with just straight up another floor, and that would do it according to what the Act 46 and one of the things they looked at.
But Windsor High School, as it stands, with no further cost, could not currently absorb Hartland. Like, it's not like that's a
Well,
reasonable.
how many kids is it?
20, yeah.
No,
100
are you
kids,
talking
next
about-
year?
Probably don't.
100 high schools.
Well, again, if it was like if it was like the West Windsor merger, it would be, you'd grandfather the students. So nobody would be pulled from Woodstock or pulled from Hartford. Nobody would be pulled from those schools. Those students would be grandfathered. It would be your current like 7th graders. So, and then every class after that. So yeah, I think,
Probably yes, for a year, for a couple of years, but then there would have to potentially be an addition on the school.
Oh, I don't want.
I guess I still don't understand, I mean, I know that the cost would go down, but I still don't understand that Windsor's charging us 22,000, but it doesn't cost 22,000 to educate a student. That's where I'm stuck.
It's
Because-
really that number. It's really the LTW ADM.
yeah, I think you're confusing like when it's all started, I think it was Nikki, it might've been Beth, who said, you know, the difference between enrollment and LTW ADM. And I think what we're getting hung up on is when we discuss a high school student, we're talking about enrollment,
Oh, yeah,
right? So,
I agree.
a body.
What
We're
I'm-
not talking about LTW ADM.
But where I am is that high schools are supposed to be charging us what it costs to educate our student.
Which is
Correct.
But our student is greater than 1
Right.
because
Yes.
of LTW
Yes.
ADM. So it's
Agreed.
again, it's this like trying to compare the cost per body and the cost
Right.
per LTW
Oh, I
ADM.
totally agree. But the state, if you look at, like, I'm not saying that we're trying to educate our high school students for 15,000. Like, let's up it to 18,000. That's still 4,000 more,
Then what's being charged?
Less than.
less than what's being
Less,
charged.
yeah.
Like, and
There's no limits right now for the schools to set their tuition rates. Each
Right.
district sets the
Yeah.
tuition rate.
And that's what I'm trying to say is that, like, well, here, okay, so the state average high school tuition is 18,900. And there are no schools in this side of the state that can meet that level.
Well, exactly. So one thing
We are
that
being penalized for being on
Well,
this side of the state and tuitioning
the
kids.
state could decide, I'm not an attorney, but the state could decide, we're gonna make everybody have the state average and the parents come up with a difference. They could do that. I don't know if that's constitutional, but they could do that. And but I've never seen that happen. I've seen it talked about. I don't think it's part of the current legislation.
I think a cap is, I feel like if they're gonna charge, if they're saying students, the average is 18,000, then it's 18,000. Like, they need to cap it because it's too, like, we're getting crushed by school tuition because there's no cap and they can just keep spending. So again, last night at Woodstock meeting, they decided one way that they could not have to cut more is if they raise the tuition rates. So they raised the tuition rates $1,500. So now any kid that goes to Woodstock is now, on top of whatever they were, is now another $1,500 so that they don't have to cut another half of a math teacher. Right. So that's what they did.
And Hartland pays that.
Right.
So that's
So the state isn't controlling it then,
No.
because they just
No.
decided to raise
The
rates.
state did
It's
not.
not like all of
And
a
we're
sudden it
never
costs more.
gonna get, because it didn't,
Didn't cost $1,500 more all of a
No.
sudden to.
No, they could just rate, I mean, like.
Well, it will
you-
cost them 1,500
What?
more because your budget's higher, right, to meet your budget.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So, no, it was,
Oh my God,
you
this
know,
is
it's
like a picture
preventative
of the
measure,
snake eating its
like,
own tail.
I know,
it
it's.
totally is.
It's
I mean,
really-
I hate to blame all my kind and me, but the issue here is the constant rise of healthcare costs in America. I
It
mean,
is.
seriously, that is the
It is.
issue. Is that like the American healthcare system is so broken.
We're gonna blame you.
No, seriously. I mean, it's that
It's your
not.
fault.
And trust me, the doctors and the nurses are not making the money, right?
Yeah.
It's the insurance companies,
Yeah.
right? I mean, what is driving up our budget? Health insurance costs for teachers, and that's what goes up every single year.
By 20%.
12.4 this year,
Yeah.
Larry?
Right. So people want to know like why it's
11.9.
costing more. It's not
11.9.
costing more because we're paying teachers more. It's not costing more because we're doing big updates on the school. It's costing more because the cost of providing health insurance to teachers is going up, and that is going up because
And their wages are going up, which
their
they
wages
should.
went up. Right.
Yeah,
And
But
the-
it-
if
but
their
it's
wages are
also-
going up 11%, their wages are going up
Right.
5%.
It's
and their
health
tuition-
insurance
And I'm okay
costs
with that.
going up,
I couldn't
and
afford that.
and unfortunately, in the state of Vermont, we have then tethered property taxes to education costs, and education costs are tethered to health insurance costs, and so property taxes are going up because of health insurance costs. And then, oh, by the way, that's the only thing you get to vote on. All the rest of the taxes are set by other people.
Right.
And so what happens is, this is exactly it, is that we're fighting with we're trying to lay blame at the feet of other educators who are just trying to educate, right? Like,
No, I'm not.
I don't mean to say
blaming
that, but like the issue is here that it's an inflationary climate with increasing healthcare costs, and we've, like, at some point there has to be an untethering of the property taxes to the education fund.
This is not a school problem.
It's not a school problem.
It's not a school problem. We're not overspending,
So my question is, next Wednesday we have a meeting.
Yeah.
So what is
Bring us
happening
back, Beth.
between,
So-
I mean, we can piss and moan all we want because
I
it's
know.
not like, we currently are not changing it, and in between then, now and then, you know, yes, everyone contact your state representatives.
Yes.
But what do we need to do
Do you need
to prepare ourselves, prepare the community?
To prepare anything for you for next Wednesday?
Like,
Do you wanna hear from your BAC reps, just as a perspective from a community member?
Do you guys have
Helpful?
anything?
I know we saw this, a week or two ago?
Yeah.
So I was prepared for that conversation. I don't have anything more to add. I do just worry about presenting this to the community. I mean, I do think that it's not gonna be taken well. I worry that they're not even gonna think about the people in the positions, and they just wanna go for that lower tax rate. So that's just my worry. It's not really hopeful to the conversation, but it is a worry. And and the high school choice has always been a thing. It's always been a thing. I don't have any more to add. I just am in agreement.
that stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Kids also really enjoy picking the wrong high schools.
They
like,
do.
getting their
It's always been. It's one of the reasons that I'm here in Hartland. I went to
Same
Windsor.
Yeah.
I went K through 12, and it was great. But there's a reason that I'm here in Hartland for school choice.
Yeah. And that is.
And people move here for that.
Yeah.
But there is a cost, I guess.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Ryan's here.
Right.
Can we see a
Tracy,
version
did you
of
have anything you
this
wanted to
that
add to the conversation
includes
as a community member?
No, I think you guys are right on. I know so many of you, I know that you know what a difficult decision as this is, and I hear the right tone, which is this is completely out of our hands, and it's completely unfair to ask us to be penalized for having a bill that we have to pay in terms of high school tuition that we aren't being fairly reimbursed for at the state level. So I'm just here to support you all, support Lindsay in this really difficult decision. If anybody wants to chat, I will be at S6 tomorrow for the first day of ski if we have it. And I think one of the primary things I'm hearing from all of you is providing a kind of forward push on clarifying where these costs are. And I'm hearing from a lot of you that we really do need to have these bigger discussions at the state level, that our reimbursement rate for high school tuition doesn't compare to the actual cost of sending our kids to high school. And that's something that is completely out of our hands and lies with our state level representatives and our education committee. So I would love to be able to turn that pressure away from all of you who are stuck between a rock and a hard place and shine that light on where the changes actually have to take place, which is way beyond little tiny Hartland and our, handful of stop signs and our 2 corner stores. So just wanted to say, I know this is really hard. One of the things I reached out to Lindsay about was what I found more palatable was not having anybody lose their job. So people who were already in the building, staying in the building and not having to say goodbye to those people. But this all sucks. And I'm really sorry that we're all here and we're continuing to have these discussions. Many of you have my emails or my phone numbers. Please reach out if there's anything else I can do to help support you in the next couple weeks.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy. And thank you guys for the work on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
Can we see a version next time
You're not like us, like
that keeps the world language teacher but cuts everything else, just to see?
You mean add the custodian to the middle column, essentially.
Okay.
Larry, you could do that right now.
Could you do that right now, Larry?
Your handy dandy.
All right, so what do we want to do now?
Remove the,
Yeah,
add the reduce.
Hold on. A lot of people talking at once. What's the question?
Add the custodian reduction to column 2, so we know what the tax increase would be.
The custodian reduction to column 2. Okay, 1 second.
Lindsay, I'm gonna ask you another tough question.
I guess
With brown in my mouth. To make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that is like not student facing that can go? And again, I'm like, I don't want anything to go, but like.
Are you saying almost in replace of
One
of?
Yep, of something.
Nothing that's gonna have a
Nothing
impact like that.
would have the amount of dollar impact.
So the question is, the question is if we moved the custodian position to the middle column, it would, and kept everything else that was in the middle column, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to preserve
That
the
would,
language teacher.
that would be a 6.6% increase.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there a number that you think we need to get to?
Like a percentage?
Percentage increase?
Yeah.
I think people are hoping there's no increase at all.
Yeah, I think that 1% is looking really great to people. That's not gonna happen. I know it's not gonna happen, but like, I don't think, I think that we are going to have a large group of people
Yep.
who are going to be like, well, why can't you make it happen? Like, make it happen, just make it happen. And so we have to be prepared to say like, again, here's why we can't make it happen. So I know last year we were like, here's the reason why we can't bring our budget here, because we would only have 10 teachers left in the building. And
we're not
so-
that different from that.
No, I know
To cut
that.
1.4 million.
That's 14, I mean, that's.
So I think you put forth the budget you believe in and you stand behind.
Yeah, no,
And
I-
you explain it, communicate it,
And we
and
hope
the
for the best.
voters make their decision. And hopefully that's yes, and if it's not, we come back to the table.
We do it like we did last year.
We know how
What
to
was
do
our
it.
record last year? How
We
many?
had 4, did we have
4?
4?
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see if we can break our record.
Three.
I'm joking, I'm not interested.
But we know how to do it.
We've done it once.
Yeah.
Blink, get on
But
that
I
rodeo.
think it is about communicating pretty clearly.
Yeah.
I think I heard Hannah's request of bringing back something that looks similar to this, that would get you to the 6.6, the way Larry just described.
Yeah, and then I think it would be helpful to describe what things would have to be cut to get to the 10.2 million, to get to the 1% tax increase.
Yep.
I think being able to put a label on those cuts so people know that to
Paint a picture of what it would look like
Yeah.
here with those cuts.
yeah, we're losing art, music, gym.
Health.
Well, we already don't have
We
health.
don't
It's already,
have-
health's already gone, but we're losing art, music, right? I mean, presumably you have to cut $1 million. We're talking 10 teachers that are getting cut.
Roughly.
And are you looking for the number that gets you to where we're not double taxed? Is that
Right, which is
what you're getting
10.2
at?
million, I think.
Yep.
10,208,406 million is what I got.
It's 14
It's at 1.4, I think, reduction.
And that would keep us at 15,000. And so I think that people will need to see that.
But what I learned from last time, and I'm gonna say this super nightlessly, is that like, some people, I don't wanna say don't care, but again, their thought is like, my taxes last year went up 24%, like, so now you're gonna put another 8% on this year? Like, that's a lot, like, I hear you, like, I'm like cringing at my tax bill
Mhm.
already this year, like,
Well,
it's
and
a
I know
lot, but-
families that are middle income
Yeah.
families that are now skimping on groceries.
Yeah.
There are kids in this school who are buying less groceries
Mhm.
because of their taxes. And that hurts.
it hurts.
And these are middle, like, these are, yeah. And these are families that we know in the school, and it, like, I don't know. And part of me feels like if we're going up 5.9%, that we aim for a 5.9% tax increase. Cause I don't think that we can get to 0 or 1.
No, I don't think so either. I don't
No,
think so
we
either.
can't.
So I
Unless
think,
the legislature
but I
changes
think if
something
we
with
don't,
tuition.
if we
That ADM
don't
number.
demonstrate, if
Right.
we don't demonstrate some cuts, right? I think it will be seen that there's not been appropriate effort at protecting people from the burden of increased taxes. So I think there have to be cuts.
And I'm not gonna disagree with that. My only fear is if we put, like, if we're gonna play the game, right? And we put it all out on the table, then if it comes back no, like, and we've cut everything we possibly can, then we, you know, have to, then it
You
gets.
go back and
Don't
don't,
go back.
you can go back and do the same budget again.
Yeah,
That's what we did.
yeah, I mean, I see your point,
Yeah.
that you want your starting negotiation to be
Like,
something.
I'm in
You
negotiation
don't wanna
mode.
like give your,
Yep,
but I think, I mean, I just.
no, I hear you.
So for us, for next week, to come prepared, you would like to see a budget that reflects a 5.9 increase.
I mean, that's my proposal. I mean, not 5.9 exactly, but like.
I mean, I could hear 6.
6%.
Yeah,
Right, and that was basically what we would get to if we added the custodian to the unfilled
is that what
PE and the
Yeah,
backfilling
6.6.
retirement and the
6.6.
6.6.
Oh, 6.6 increase.
So
So you need another 0.5% in there.
Which would be about, how many dollars, Larry? Another 72?
72-ish thousand.
I'm just like throwing, like, that feels palatable, but
Well, I mean, it feels,
it feels defendable.
it feels like, okay, well, the school budget's going up by 5.9%, we're increasing our school, like, your taxes are gonna go up by 6.6%. I agree.
I mean, another thing that really, really, really needs to be demonstrated is that the increases are not coming from anything being done in this
No,
building.
No,
Right.
it's, yeah.
That this is about like.
No, we're cutting our budget, we're not increasing
Right,
our budget.
right, that the
There's
taxes are
nothing
going up
increasing it.
despite the fact that the school will
Programming is
be
not
spending
changing.
less money
And
out,
well,
right.
it's changing in a negative way because we are
Right,
reducing
right,
our programming at
right.
the school.
Right.
Right,
Is-
staffing is going down, activity offerings are going down.
Yeah.
And,
So the scenarios will be, we've got the 6.6, that's
So we'll
choice
just edit
A,
this. and-
choice B will be around 6%.
And then
leave the-
additionally,
so another, Larry, I don't know if you're able to answer this quickly, so the 6.6% tax increase would be a budget of how much?
Okay, stand by.
I'm sorry,
So cute.
No, this
Um,
is he's a numbers guy,
He's
for
loving
sure.
this. It's like,
I know, I wish I had control. Ed gave me control last year, Larry.
and it's probably about 11.1
The tax cut
or
worksheet.
something.
That's
He
what
gave
it
me
was.
all the spreadsheets, so I could game
What was
my.
what's our budget this year?
Cause I
10
can't.
6.6%, so the budget would be 11.219. 11.219.
Literally going up.
And what's this year's budget? 10?
10.95. We're literally going up less than $500,000.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's that's nothing in this world.
Yeah. Just when everything else is going up way higher.
I'm just gonna knock over brownie pound.
Lindsay, do you think in your own, from your own perspective, eliminating those two teachers, is it going to be taxing enough on the people that then have to pick up all of the time that is, that the gym teacher does and PE and stuff, that it's so stressful for those other teachers that they decide, screw this, I'm going down the road, or?
great question, honestly hard to know. What I can tell you though is any of these will have an impact on kids. That I can answer.
Yeah, and I mean, and we could
And
definitely
staff.
lose teachers
And
if they
staff,
don't
yeah.
wanna be reassigned to a certain grade and
Yep.
they're like, I don't wanna change.
Yep.
I'll go look for same grade someplace
So
else.
And
we
there's-
should demonstrate this, I don't know if
there's
I have
such a
this exactly
shortage
right,
of
but I
teachers
think
so
with that
far.
6.6% tax
Especially if
increase,
they're
that's
good.
associated with a budget increase of 2.5%. So that, just to make that point again, that the actual increase in
Right,
budget
and it
is
changes.
significantly lower percentile than the tax increase.
Right.
Yeah, it's teasing me.
Yeah.
Okay,
So then Hannah, just so we're all on the same page, Christine and I and Larry will come with those budget increases, but additionally, what I can show you is a separate slide that talks about what levels of, what it would look like if you were to attempt to cut to the 1.2
I think
million,
that, I
just
think
more
we'll
as the
need that
perspective
for
of
people
like
to
this
see.
is, yep,
Yep.
I can do that.
Just a
What is the
word out,
inflation?
that's gonna be,
This is like.
probably anxiety provoking for staff, just gonna put that out there.
Yep.
Cause they will, I mean, they will see it,
I don't know.
but I mean, I think the taxpayers need to see it.
It's worth the exercise.
I mean, yeah,
But we can do that.
the purpose
We can
of
do
it,
that.
from my perspective, is to stand in defense
Demonstrate.
of the staff,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And I know the staff knows.
But,
Yes.
And, I mean, are any of us comfortable putting forth a budget that is, you know, no cuts at all, 13.3%?
No.
Increase?
No.
Okay. I mean, just,
no,
could we absorb just the, like, I mean, how about the first column? Like, is that enough?
I don't know, we don't even know what the real number is yet, we still don't
We
even
don't know
have the
anything.
number, whatever, so I feel like it's a complete moot discussion at this point.
Yeah.
Because
but I
we
mean-
don't actually have all the accurate information we need.
So I guess do we leave that, what is right now, I can reshare the screen, so I wonder is, do we leave the first column for the next meeting? We leave that, and then Christine and I and Larry show you the other two scenarios.
Or you add a third column in there, that is what Hannah suggested with
The
out the
6.6,
world
yeah.
language, so
Yeah.
there's the
6.6.
10.2, 7.9, 6.6, then 4.6,
Then,
Then
and
one.
then a 1.
Yeah.
So it's 5 columns that shows this is what
maybe
actually.
2 slides.
Are you also too, the PE teacher being in the first column, is that because it's less impactful than an elementary school teacher?
It's,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
filled.
And it's
also
not
not
a
a
player.
person.
But either is that elementary school teacher
Right,
at this
that's
moment.
easier to tell.
That's not,
Yes.
so, yeah, so like which of those is more impactful?
And that's what so if like the elementary teacher isn't as big of a deal, but you really need electives in PE and health, I mean,
Like, would we swap them?
having multiple options for us to decide that, like, show us different numbers. Cause I mean, that would even be less, that would be like 9.9, because you're adding another 30,000 to that first budget, which is under 10, which is, still sucks, but is,
We can show that, we can show those options.
Yep.
Write that one down.
Yep.
We'll just have multiple slides giving you different
Yeah.
scenarios.
And Christine, is there any talk about, cause the one thing we haven't talked about is the SU part of this, right? We haven't even talked about, cause like what that's gonna do.
Yeah, we have.
We
Yeah, I
have-
mean, that's a done, that's
It's
done.
included
Okay,
in there.
so is that going to, like, is the SU changing anything?
The SU budget.
Yes,
passed.
you cut a position.
Okay, so it passed and done?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can I just specify, I think, is the reason the elementary teacher is so much more is because that's someone who has been here much longer and it's attached to the actual
It is,
position
correct.
that's here now.
Yes.
The first year teacher
yes.
who happened to be a phys ed teacher.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
and
so
the
we may
SU
hire someone that's
And it
less.
depends on
Yeah.
if somebody takes benefits,
Yeah.
single plan, no benefits, family plan, I mean, that's all factored in, but these are actual numbers.
We have to use the actual people.
We
So
are
that's fine, yeah.
for budgeting purposes, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we're comparing year to year.
Yeah.
The SU budget was 9% increase from last year, somewhere.
SU budget
For
was,
us.
admin and ops was up 3%, and special ed was
Three-
up 5.9.
It's 6%, so all in, it was 9.3. 3.3% for non-special ed and 6% for special ed. And non-special ed, we did cut an administrative position at the SU.
I see that yawn.
I feel
The one who gave Nikki all the control.
And now we know why they were eliminated.
All right, so
gave me a
I'm going to make a
spreadsheet so I
motion
could run my own
that we
numbers.
table this discussion until our next meeting on January 15th.
Second.
So I think that that's consensus by everybody. We don't have to vote on
I'm
it.
tired.
Um,
I have to answer my phone.
So, yeah, so I
Okay.
think,
We hopefully will have definite.
yeah.
And then point of order, I think just when the 15th, once the school district board, authorizes a budget number, then I'll have that table that I showed you that's not currently in the budget book, that'll be in the budget book that shows how much, if you have a $250,000 house, a $350,000, $450,000, so on, how much it would be, because then we'll have more definite what your tax rate's going to be. Right now, as you can see, the tax rate is changing with every scenario we choose to look at,
And Larry, will the tax worksheet be in the budget book as well?
Yes, yep. And I'm gonna have it, I'm working on it with Weathersfield, and I'm gonna copy it over to Hartland with their numbers, and basically it's gonna show everything you just saw in Lindsay's slide, but on the right-hand side, I'm gonna have notes where I'm gonna attempt to explain what LCW ADM means, what education spending plus excess threshold means, et cetera, et cetera. So it should be kind of like a primer for the voter, I would think, hopefully.
And in terms of the, before you got here, I shared the cost of printing the budget book, so we're not gonna do that. But
Yeah.
we're gonna have the regular town report with some of the pages from the budget book, or all of them?
So what's gonna happen is, I'm gonna deliver in PDF form. It'll be all the SU budget information, including all the letters from the SU board chair and the curriculum office and so on and so forth. And then Heartland's, and that'll be one big PDF. And then we're gonna give that to the town of Heartland, and they're gonna print it.
Do you include a QR code so people can get to it, or some way for people to know how to get to it electronically, digitally?
I can do that.
Can we do one more thing? I know last year a big thing was like comparing us to Weathersfield. If they've got their numbers, can we see what that is?
We have,
It's-
they don't have it yet.
It's right there. It's right there on the budget book. You can, if you're in the budget book, you can click the electronic version, not the PDF version, but the electronic version. You can click right on Weathersfield, and a Heartland citizen can go right and see Weathersfield's information right there, and vice versa.
Their budget's about $2 million less to work.
That's correct. They are underneath the threshold, and they pay for tuition.
Yeah, I know.
And they're
All of
the
us
same-
would.
roughly the same number of students in elementary.
They have what, roughly?
The same elementary KK population.
Heartland has more high school students, roughly.
They only had 100 high school students last year, and we had 150. So,
There's your millions.
yeah, exactly.
I'll go to Woodstock. I love them all. I do. They're great.
Okay, I think we're,
I think I'm good.
We were gonna allow for some public participation after we were done.
yeah. No, we have public participation twice.
We do.
Okay.
Sure.
Is there any public we are not.
Precipitation?
Precipitation. At least you're not saying precipitation.
Okay, we're not gonna vote on a budget today, which is clear. Is there any public that wants to speak up about what we've said? No. Those guys snuck away and I didn't even notice. That's how fun our discussion was. Okay, so setting the next agenda, I have nothing on my brain.
It's just budget, and budget adoption.
Yeah, but that's the.
Are you thinking
Oh, you're
February?
talking- Yeah, we usually go to February, but
Okay, let me pull it up. But for the next one, that's what it's gonna be, just budget.
just budget.
For
Okay, so-
February,
January
we
15th.
had, administrative report, which would include the student growth report.
Yep.
For
Oh,
the
okay.
second time, and then we've got, we should have Lindsay, we should be working on the budget information session run-through,
Mhm.
which we're gonna limit this year with less.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to the budget.
Okay,
Adorable.
So it
pictures.
might look similar to.
budget, and more budget. Okay.
Thrown in there.
No, just make sure you put like on every slide, like a really adorable kid face. with an adorable teacher doing something adorable.
Okay, I assume we
Oh,
do
we're
not need an
super
executive session?
There you go.
Okay.
We're bunny ears or something.
I will take a motion.
So moved.
Oh,
Beth moves to
I
adjourn.
second, I thought Hannah.
Heather. Seconds.
She's like doodling over
We're all
there
in
with a black
person.
marker.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Thank you, Larry, for all
Thank
Thank you,
Larry.
Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you,